everybody, my name is Daniela and thank you for tuning in to Loud Girl Politics. This is the first episode. I didn't really think that I would have so much to talk about. I wasn't really planning this to coincide with everything that's happening right now. Today is the third day of protests in Minneapolis after the death of George Floyd. So I'm going to get into the death of George Floyd, basically the culmination of everything that has led to protests, that has led to riots, why the riots are happening, who's being targeted, and the responses from everyone. So before we do that, let us take our tradition on this show, Loud Girl Politics. We're going to take a shot just to get everybody ready. Alright. If nasty tequila. Let's go. Okay, cheers to speaking about everything open and honestly and not shying down from any topics, even if they are uncomfortable. We're gonna talk about it on here on Loud Girl Politics. Thank you for tuning in. Ugh, nasty. Alright, you can also find me on Loud Girl Politics on YouTube if you want to watch this podcast. Okay, so let's get into it. Like I said, this episode is a hard one, a difficult one. I didn't expect to be filming this, but obviously we have to report what's going on in real life and we have to talk about it. I think that is the worst thing. Not talking about it, staying silent is probably the most dangerous. And I mean, we've seen that with police brutality, and we've seen one quote that has gone around social media is that it's not getting worse, it's getting filmed. So being quiet about it is probably the most dangerous thing you could do. Right, so what has happened? What has happened is a man. His name is George Floyd. He was accused of giving a store owner or store clerk, cashier, whatever, a forged check, and that's what he said, and they called the police. 4 police officers arrived on scene, restrained him, and held him down for 9 minutes. Chauvin, which is the name of the police that is now known everywhere, is the one that held his knee to his neck for those full 9 minutes, and at the 4th minute, Floyd can be heard saying, "I can't breathe." Okay, where have we heard this before? Eric Garner. Eric Garner yelled, "I can't breathe," for I don't know how long, and he died. He was selling cigarettes. He died for some cigarettes. How many times are we gonna have to hear black people say, "I can't breathe," for us to believe them? For the police to not kill them, for them to administer first aid. Okay, so then at the 7th minute, George Floyd was dead. It did not take an hour. It took 7 minutes, George Floyd was dead, and then after those 9 minutes were up, Chauvin said, "Get up, get up." And obviously he couldn't get the fuck up because he was dead. So they put him away, they put him on a stretcher, and then he was announced already dead on scene. And however, there were 3 more officers there. So they are complicit in this murder. They are not scot-free, they are not innocent, they are complicit in this murder. And that is the problem with the police system. The cops do not turn each other in. Cops do not hold each other accountable. Okay, so after this, and after the video started making the rounds on social media, finally, people started coming out and started protesting, and finally social media got the attention of the police, and they finally found those 4 and did something about it because nothing was being done at all. Right, okay, so they were arrested, but it took everyone reposting and resharing and speaking out and celebrities talking about it to even get them arrested. Like, how much do we have to do for law enforcement to actually do their job? Who can you call if you can't call the police? Who do you call if the police is the one killing you? Answer me that. And so these peaceful protests, they came out in large groups in Minneapolis to protest peacefully with their signs, and they came prepared. Luckily, these people aren't fucking stupid, and people of color in the black community are used to this, and they know that some shit's gonna go down. So they brought milk, luckily, and they were met with tear gas, and they were met with rubber bullets. Okay, let's compare this to the COVID protests. So if you want to think back a little bit, the COVID protests were protests against a virus, not a person, not someone being actually oppressed, just some people that were inconvenienced and annoyed that they wanted to go back to their salons, they wanted to get back to the gyms, they wanted to get a haircut, they wanted to go shop, they wanted to go to the mall, they wanted to go fishing in groups. And they protested with arms, they protested with guns, they got up in the policemen's faces, they spit, they were pushing the barricades, they were yelling at the police, they were telling them that they were wrong, they were unconstitutional, and they were resisting arrest. However, these peaceful protests did none of that, and yet they were met with tear gas and rubber bullets. And then, only then, have the riots actually ensued. So the main target for the riot has been the large target, and people are, if you're wondering why that is, it's because that target has a direct link to the police station and the police force in Minneapolis. I guess they fund them financially, and they are also seen to be denying protesters milk. So one, I mean, that's just incredibly inhumane. Two, like, what the fuck? You're peacefully protesting and your eyes are burning because of tear gas, and you're gonna deny them milk? Am I saying milk or milk? I don't know, hopefully it sounds right on your ears. But like, that is, honestly, that's disgusting. That pisses me off. Really? You're gonna deny them milk? Their eyes are burning. You're a Target. What do you care? You're a billion-dollar corporation. And that is also why that's a Target, because it's a billion-dollar corporation who funds the police force. So it is not a family, it is not a small business, it's a huge, large corporation, and that's why the Target has been looted, it's been set on fire, and it's been basically destroyed. However, what they're not showing in the news is the redistribution of those things. So I think that's an amazing thing. Honestly, when the government is not helping you and refuses to give you anything and is allowing huge billion-dollar corporations and large companies and large institutions to steal from you and let the rich off, you know what? Let them loot, because they're redistributing wealth. So these protests have obviously gotten very violent. They've destroyed lots of police cars. They've destroyed the, the media towers and things like that. They've kind of started to pop up in different states too. LA had kind of a little bit of one yesterday. Las Vegas is said to have one today. Portland had one today. I believe Chicago and Houston are also starting some protests. Yeah. At the same time, however, Chauvin, which is the name of the murderer, has been locked in his house, and there are people outside, that have written murder on the ground, as they should. But obviously not really doing anything. They're just kind of there, just kind of to hold him accountable, because nothing was really happening. However, now a police barricade has come and put themselves in between the people outside his home and protected him. So I find that really interesting, how the police in this country continue to protect killers and national terrorists. Because if we look back, Dylan Roof and the murder of Aurora, and so many other ones that I can't even think to name right now, they were taken alive. They were taken alive, and then Dylan Roof was taken to Burger King, and he was allowed to have a meal. Like, they are treated so humanely, and they are protected. And even the KKK, when they have rallies, the police are there to protect them. Like, it really just shows you the drastic difference between Black America and white America. And so any one of you guys saying that you don't really see a difference, honestly, I feel like you're just bullshitting at this point. There's no way you can't see a difference. And the thing right now is people that don't want to speak up and they don't want to talk about it because they're uncomfortable. I hope this makes you uncomfortable. This should make you uncomfortable. It's murder. You should not be comfortable with murder. I have this tweet that I just pulled up right now. It says, "You're uncomfortable? Good. I hope every single person alive is uncomfortable because Black people are fucking dying at alarming rates. The very least you should be is uncomfortable." I also want to play this snippet of something Malcolm X said, and I just thought it was very moving. So here it goes.
There will come a time when Black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves. Then the Black man will think like a Black man, and he will feel for other Black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause Black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one Black man, you are attacking all Black men. And this type of Black thinking will cause all Black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring end to the brutality inflicted upon Black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something.
Right. So it just really shows how much power that we do have, and that we should initiate, and how much we have to support the Black community. I do want to make the distinction though that POC is not Black, and when you're talking about this type of stuff, we should say it's a Black issue, it's a Black problem, and police are killing Black people, and it's about the Black community. Because Black people are POC, but POC are not always Black, and there is a difference, and the struggles that we face are different. As a Hispanic person, I don't face the same intensity of the struggle as a Black man would. Saying that, I do think that other minorities, now is the time to prove that we can stick together. And also, on another note, any Hispanic or Bay Area Asian or any type of other POC that says the N-word or just decides to, for some reason, not take it out of their vocabulary, I swear to you, you better take that out of your vocabulary yesterday. Seriously, that word is not for you. This should show you that that word is not for you. And I don't really know how much to emphasize that, but please, let's not get into the topic of the N-word because that is a whole nother issue. However, going back to the main point, we should support the Black community right now. We should uplift the Black voices and help them be on the forefront. And those of you that can, you have to realize that having white privilege and having white skin is literally a barrier. So when we go to those protests, and when you're able to, if you're able to be there, you should use your white privilege to everyone else's advantage, because you're not the one that's going to get murdered. Right? So allyship right now has to be more than just, I'm an ally, I have Black friends. Like, that's not enough. You're not the one getting murdered. And you have to acknowledge that, because everyone saying I don't see color, that's fucking bullshit. You should see color. I hope you see color. I demand that you see color, because I am not colorless, and Black people are not colorless. On that note, I do want to reiterate that these riots are not just out of nowhere. They are a culmination of Ahmoud, Arbury, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd that all happened within the same week. And not to mention literally so many. Trayvon Martin was killed in 2012. That was 8 years ago. And that has happened so long. We just see it way more because of police cameras and social media. So I'm gonna leave off on this note. I just want to read out some names to you guys. Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, George Floyd, Walter Scott, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Samuel Du Bois, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony Robinson, Levante Biggs, Freddie Gray, Dominic Hutchinson, Norman Cooper, David Felix, Brian Ovestra, Michael Lee Marshall, Dante Ivey, William Chapman, Richard Perkins, Nuna LaRoche, Samuel Morel Hura, Cornelius Brown, Darius Stewart, Brandon Glenn, Kevin Higglebotham, Victor LaRosa III, Betty Jones, Billy Ray Davis, Michael Sabi, Keith Childress, Jonathan Sanders, Felix Gumi, Michael Noel, and India Kager. Obviously, that's not nowhere near close the list of names that have been murdered by the police, but this is too many. So yeah, this is too many. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully, as things progress within the next week, things can change. Again, thank you for listening in. Come back for another episode of Loud Girl Politics. And if you want to watch this visually, you can go on YouTube and watch it at Loud Girl Politics. Same at. Thank you so much. Have a nice night.